In the quiet village of Amur, life moved at the same slow rhythm as the river that cut through its lands. Boys grew up to till the fields, cast fishing nets, or carve wood into sturdy furniture, following in their father's footsteps. Girls, after secondary school, married young, becoming the guardians of heart and home. For the people of Amur, life was simple, steady, and predictable. Education ended with secondary school. University was a distant dream, something they had only heard whispered about, like a faraway land no one dared to reach. Parents were content as long as their children could read, write, and count. They didn't ask for more because they didn't know more. Life flowed like the river, unchanging and dependable. But everything began to shift one bright afternoon. A bus rattled into Amur, and from it stepped a group of city students on an excursion. They wore clothes brighter than anything the villagers had ever seen, their polished shoes gleaming in the sun. They spoke with confidence, their voices filled with ideas about science, technology, and dreams larger than the small world of Amur. The villagers gathered to listen, their hearts pounding with a mix of awe and envy. One of the students showed them a tablet, explaining how it held the world's knowledge. The elders exchanged glances, their curiosity growing. "If only our children could learn like this," murmured the village chief, Boba Olekano, as he leaned on his staff. That evening, under the sprawling baobab tree, the villagers gathered to discuss the possibility of sending one of their own to the city for university. They debated and deliberated until they all agreed on a name, Ajinola, a bright and curious girl whose sharp mind and kind heart had made her the pride of the village. Ajinola was different. Her laughter was like the first rain after a dry season, and her eyes held a light that seemed to see beyond the fields and rivers of Amur. When the elders approached her family with their plan, her parents, though hesitant, agreed. The village pooled their resources. The women packed dried fish, yams, and ground pepper. The men collected every naira they could spare. Boba Olekano placed his hand on Ajinola's head, whispering words of strength and courage. "Go, Ajinola," he said. "Make us proud." When Ajinola arrived in the bustling city of Lagos, it was as though she had stepped into another world. The streets teemed with life, the buildings towered like mountains, and the air buzzed with a constant hum of activity. She marveled at her university, where students from all over Nigeria gathered to learn. But life in the city was not as welcoming as it seemed. Ajinola's simple Ankara dresses, sewn with love by her mother, marked her as different. Her classmates, with their flashy clothes and confident airs, whispered behind her back. "Village girl," they sneered. "She doesn't belong here." The words stung, but Ajinola held her head high. She reminded herself of the villagers who had sent her here, their hopes resting on her shoulders. She studied hard, her determination burning brighter than the mocking laughter around her. But the city had its own challenges. The money her village sent was barely enough to cover her needs. Hunger became her constant companion, and some nights she cried herself to sleep, clutching her empty stomach. It was during one of these hard times that Ajinola met Tenny, a lively girl with a radiant smile. Tenny seemed to have everything Ajinola lacked: new clothes, enough food, and an ease with city life that Ajinola envied. One evening, Ajinola confided in Tenny about her struggles. "How do you manage to live so well?" she asked. Tenny hesitated, then shrugged. "I hustle," she said vaguely. "You'll understand one day." Ajinola didn't press further, but over time, her curiosity grew. She noticed Tenny disappearing in the evenings, returning with shopping bags and a satisfied smile. When Ajinola's hunger became unbearable, she asked Tenny for help. "Let me join your hustle," Ajinola pleaded. "I can't keep living like this." Tenny looked at her friend for a long moment before nodding. "It's not what you think," she said quietly. "But if you're sure, I'll show you." Tenny led Ajinola to a world of bright lights and loud music, where wealthy men spent money freely and young women charmed them in exchange. Ajinola hesitated but convinced herself it was temporary, a means to survive and send money back to her struggling family. At first, the money felt like a blessing. She bought food, clothes, and sent gifts to her village. But with each night she spent in that world, a part of her soul felt heavier. Months passed, and Ajinola began to feel unwell. Her body grew weaker, her once radiant skin lost its glow, and her belly began to swell. Fear gripped her as whispers of judgment followed her. "You're pregnant," Tenny told her one evening, her tone flat. Ajinola's heart sank. Shame and panic consumed her. She thought of her family, her village, the dreams they had for her. She had betrayed their trust. Too weak to continue in the city, Ajinola returned to Amio. The villagers, who had once celebrated her departure, now stared in shock at the frail figure before them. Her parents wept, her mother holding her close. The elders gathered, their faces solemn. Baba Olekona stepped forward. "Ajinola, tell us what happened," he said gently. Through tears, Ajinola confessed everything. The elders listened in silence, and when she finished, Baba Olekona spoke. "You have strayed, my child," he said. "But even the strongest tree can regrow after a storm. What matters now is how you choose to heal." The villagers, though hurt, embraced her with love. They cared for her, feeding her, nursing her back to health. When the time came, Ajinola gave birth to a baby girl she named Oluwademila, meaning "God has blessed me with wealth." Ajinola stayed in Amio, dedicating herself to teaching the village children, using the knowledge she had gained from the city. She became a beacon of hope, showing them that mistakes can be forgiven and that growth comes from facing one's failures with courage. Her story became a lesson for the entire village. Education is a gift, but it must be rooted in humility and integrity. Every choice has consequences, but forgiveness and redemption are always possible. Ajinola's journey, though fraught with hardship, brought Amio a new kind of wisdom, one that balanced ambition with the strength of their values. And as the years passed, she watched her daughter grow into a strong, intelligent young woman, knowing that through her, the dreams of Amio would continue to shine. Moral of the story: no matter how far we stray, the path to redemption lies in humility, courage, and the support of a loving community. Mistakes do not define us, we rise after them does.